Welcome back to another exciting video, and what we are talking about today, line array speakers, are they really any good? And McDonald's Coke. So before we actually get into the main topic on hand, I have to know what the hell happened to McDonald's Coke. I stopped at a McDonald's about 3 months ago, and I got one of the Cokes, and, paid for it, drove off, going down the road, took a sip of it, and it was horrible. It tasted like toilet water. And my entire life since I was a kid, and that was like 432 years ago, McDonald's has always had, without a doubt, the best Coke in the world. The best fountain Coke. Their Coke's better than bottled Coke, in my opinion, except maybe the glass bottle Coke. I really like the old glass bottle Cokes of Coke. In my opinion, I just think they've always had the best Coke in the world. And I would just drive by there to just buy Cokes. I don't really eat at McDonald's a whole lot, so I really don't consider their hamburgers to be hamburgers. So I ended up throwing that away. So a few weeks go by, and I stop at a different one a little closer to work. And I grab another McDonald's Coke, and I get it, pay for it, drive off down the road. And again, it is horrible. It tastes like toilet water. And let's be honest, we all know what toilet water tastes like. You ever come home 4 o'clock in the morning, you're feeling like shit, you've been out drinking all night, and what's the first thing you do? You hang your head in the toilet. We've all been there, unfortunately. So I ended up throwing that one away. So a few more weeks go by, and I'm actually going to go meet my bandmates, and there's McDonald's out by where we practice at, and I stopped at that McDonald's, and again, the Coke was absolutely nasty. It was terrible. So I get over there and I just throw the damn port out, throw the Coke away, and okay, what the hell? So I ended up stopping back at the original McDonald's, which is the one by my house when I got the first really bad Coke. And so I go in and I talk to the guy. I'm like, bro, what's up with the Coke, man? He said, what do you mean? I said, dude, it's horrible. It tastes like ass. I said, did you all change the formula? And he's like, no, it's the same old Coke it's always been. That is impossible. I do not believe this guy. He's lying. You remember when Apple slowed down everybody's phones to get them to buy new phones? Like this dumbass, because I did. And then they denied it. Same thing going on at McDonald's. I'm telling you, they're denying it. They did something with that damn Coke. Either they changed the Coke formula. I'm a dipshit, which could be a possibility. It could be. Or my taste is screwed up from COVID. I had COVID months and months and months ago. I had COVID. So I don't know. So this is something that is just, I'm losing sleep about this. So I figured I would just throw it out there into YouTube world and see if anybody else has noticed this, or is it just me? I've got to get to the bottom of this because this is driving me insane. What the hell's going on with McDonald's Coke? So if anybody knows, please drop me a line and let me know what the hell's happening here, because it is driving me crazy. Because it's been the same my entire life till 3, 4, 5 months ago. And I don't know what the hell's going on in this world. And anything anymore. But now on to the topic. Line array speakers. Are they any good? If you're not familiar with a line array speaker, Bose really got this thing kicked off to its popularity with the Bose L1 system. I believe that was what the original system was called. And it was years ago. And actually the first experience I had with them was I was in New York and I was in Central Park. And they had wasn't an orchestra. It was smaller than an orchestra, bigger than a quartet. Whatever the hell you call that. That's what they had in the park at the amphitheater. And they had 8 or 10 of the Bose L1s in the back, and it sounded absolutely amazing. It sounded fantastic. And that was, it just filled the entire park with this beautiful sound. And that was really my first experience with them, because I've always run traditional PAs. I ran the Mackie PAs forever, when Mackie made a good PA, when they made everything back in Italy. And like an idiot, I sold that years ago because, everything became more powerful. And, being that I'm a dude, you always want more power. So I ended up selling that Italian Mackie system, which was a huge mistake because that was truly one of the greatest clubbing PAs in the world. Now I think they're made in China and they're terrible. Oh my God, they're just brutally harsh now. So I ended up buying, when Bose dropped the F1 system out, I ended up buying the F1 system. And, really didn't put a whole lot of thought into it. I read some reviews and people were loving it, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So I thought, what the hell, I'm going to go ahead and buy it. Now, when I bought it, they were brand new when they came out. And it was, shit, I paid almost $6,000 for that. Was that overpriced? Absolutely. Incredibly overpriced. But I like the way that it's set together, the stands, the way they snap together. It just kind of became an adhesive unit, and I really dug that. I like that a lot. And it had the 12-inch woof on the top, but it had the line array. And also, the line array moved on that one. When you move the line array, when you push the top in and out, or both of them in and out, it actually changed the EQ curve of the speaker, which was actually very, very cool. Played a lot of shows with that system. But when I first got it, I have a QSC Touch Mix board, which I absolutely love for years and years. I gigged with an analog Yamaha professional board, which is a brilliant board. It is analog, and I love analog, but it was also 32 channel and incredibly heavy. But till this day, I personally have never sang through a better board than that Yamaha board. That thing was just astounding, and I have still got it, but it is big. And the whole part of playing in a band as you get older is to make shit small. So I ended up getting rid of that. No, I didn't get rid of them. Sorry. I ended up putting that one away, and I bought the QSC Touch Mix, which I absolutely love, a little digital board. Is it as warm as the Yamaha? No. But with everything, all the features that come on that board, it's well worth the trade-off. And actually, I used to play through a Marshall JVM full stack. And my rhythm guitar player had a 5152 full stack. And now I play through a Kemper, which I absolutely love also. And it's just small and it's easy. And the reason I did it is because it was too hard. But when you're gigging and you have 4 guitars, a full stack, and a PA system, plus a full 88 weighted key Yamaha CP300, whatever the hell it's called, stage piano, which weighs a freaking ton. It is just too much to carry. So I started paring all that shit down. So I bought the Bose. I really did like the Bose, but one thing, when I first got it, I wrestled with EQing that thing forever. I could not get the vocals to shine out of that system. And I spent forever EQing those vocals, and to the point where I called Bose, and I'm like, what the hell, guys? And then, of course, I got no answers out of Bose. So I ended up calling QSC, because at first I was using their presets in the board, and then I just kind of started EQing it through myself. And I spent more time than you should ever spend trying to EQ a vocal. And after countless hours and testing it and playing with my band, it finally dawned on me, and it actually took a minute to dawn on me because I just never thought about it. It does not have a compression horn. It's running the linear array. Well, that's where I was having the problem, because when you have a compression horn in a PA system, you get that airiness on top, that glassiness that rolls off of the vocals. You get that out of it. And that is huge for a singer. You know, if you're singing something ballady, something very breathy, you need that glassiness, that airiness on top. Well, I was missing it on the Bose F1 system. And what I had to do to compensate for that is I had to push the highs stratospherically high to get that breathiness back into them, which obviously runs into another problem. Now you start running into a feedback issue. Now, it was a lot easier to control on the QSC, because with the QSC you can set the room on the board, which is very nice. But you still have issues because now you're running extremely high highs on it. And the way I was doing it on the board is I was doing it on the global EQ on the back end. So everything was being affected by that. And so after I finally figured out, because when I was testing everything, I was trying to leave the vocal EQs flat, and I was just using the global because, as you know, you got to EQ everybody's vocal differently. So I was just testing the global. So once I got that figured out, I went back and set my global EQ back to flat, because that's the last EQ you set. Then I kind of had an idea of where I needed to set everybody's vocals, and so it was really nice having that vocal EQ because I could set it up across all the mics and get everybody to test and sing. Then I could go back and set them individually. So finally got that done. But when I moved to Alabama, I ended up selling the F1 system. The F1 system was nice. It did sound good. And like I said, the way it all snapped together was beautiful. But it did not break my heart to sell that system. I liked it, but I did not love it. And the kick in the ass was before I bought that, I was actually buying a set of the QSC K2.2s, K12.2s. Yeah. And probably the system I should have bought looking back on it. But there again, now I'm carrying these big ass speakers, these big ass subs, these stands, and I just did not want to get back into that. So I sold that system and went to Alabama because the whole time I was in Alabama, there was just no music happening down there whatsoever. In the city I lived in, I don't even know if they know what a rock and roll band is, unfortunately. So, but when I came back up here, I had to buy another PA. So I thought, you know what? All right, time to get the QSC system. And I've played the QSC system. I played through it several times, and I love that system. But I got to thinking, well, when we're playing bigger venues, the PA system's already there. You don't have to tote yours there. It's already provided. And a lot of the bigger clubs have built-in PA systems. So do I really want to spend all that money and buy something that big again? The answer to that would be no. So I started looking back at the line array systems. Ugh. That's all I can say about it is ugh. So I went down and I was checking out the Bose systems and the Eon systems. And I did play the Turbo Sound. I really did not like the Turbo Sound. It had a very boxy sound to it and very MIDI sound. And I just, if it has a very MIDI sound on the front end, that means I'm going to have to fight to get it out on the back end. And I do not want to do that. So I narrowed it down to the systems I listened to the Bose and the JBL Eon 1. Very similar. I did A/B between the Eon 1 and the Bose L1. It was the cheaper model that just has the array on top. And this is what I mean by array, if you're not familiar with it. Let me take a look here. This is the array. This is the top of the JBL right here. And what it is this has 8 2-inch high-mid drivers in here. There's no compression horn. They look kind of like little tweeters, I guess. Little speakers. About yeah, big around. And it sounds good. And like I said, luckily I got to A/B this against the Bose while I was there. And being familiar with the Bose, and I've gigged with the L2, the Bose L1 Model 2. Actually, I've gigged with that system a few times. One of the clubs that we used to play at, I mean, a buddy of mine just doing a little side shit, that's what they had. And they had the tone match, which the little 4-channel, which actually works very well with that system. But for a band, it's worthless. So I got to thinking, can I use this for a band? Because it's easy, it's compact, and easy to move. I know it sounds good with orchestras. I know it sounds good if you're doing acoustic stuff because I did it. And Lord, every acoustic act in the world now uses some type of line array speaker setup now. So I did get the A/B it. So I did it first with the Bose L1 system. And I gotta admit, the JBL sounded better. I think right off the top it sounded better. I think it had a little more clarity to it. Definitely had better bass response. So I quickly eliminated that one, and they did have a Bose L1 Model 2, which, if I'm not mistaken, has been discontinued now because I think they got that new L1 Pro system, which I've not checked out yet. But as you know, those things are going to be hyper expensive to get the full system. I mean, hell, I guarantee you to get the one with the 32 speakers in, it's easily going to be $3,200 for one speaker, guaranteed. No. So I tested this against the L2 model. Now, one thing, I mean, the Model 2. Now, on the Model 2, it did have a little more clarity. It seemed like I had more clarity. I don't know if it actually did or the fact that it just had a shit ton more speakers on it. I'm not sure which one it was, but the Eon still had better bass response. So, and the Eon system was $1,000 less because they had them on sale. So I got to thinking, well, shit, you know, for $1,000 less, I can almost get 2 of these for the price of 1 of those. So I ended up settling on the JBL Eon system. I do like the Eon system. It does have dual inputs, and it's a really, really nice system for what it is. It has a 10-inch sub in the bottom, all you need for playing small venues, and it's got 6 2-inch high-frequency drivers in here, which are actually high-mid drivers is what they are. And let's see, it has a 250-watt power amp for the bottom, and it's got 130-watt for the top, so it's 380 watts altogether. Well, you're probably thinking, well, that's not a lot of power. Well, in a small room, believe it or not, that's more power than you need. With a couple of these, you could easily push a venue of 200 people without any problems. So when I had my Bose L1 system plus the JBL 18-inch sub that I had, it was 5,000 watts, and I'm going to tell you, dude, that thing was crazy loud. Now, I'd rather have more power than less power, but you don't need to pay for all that power if you're playing clubs. Let's just be honest. Now, if I was playing outside, would this pull it off? Absolutely not. That's where you would have to bring in a serious PA system like the F1 system or a full QSC system. But for playing in clubs, this is fantastic. So I ended up getting on this. I got to be honest, I really don't know what the power rating is on the Bose. I do know Bose does not like releasing their power ratings on stuff. Even if you look in the owner's manual, they do not have the power ratings. Now, I'm sure I could have got online and dug it up, but it was kind of pointless. When I was running them both at half volume in the sound room, they sounded about equally as loud. So I'm going to assume the Bose is probably 3 to 400 watts total, like the JBL is. Because they sound incredibly similar at sitting at 12 o'clock on the volumes. So I'm going to assume it's about the same. One thing I did like about the Bose better, though, the JBL. On the Bose, you can run that, 24 or 32 speakers all the way up. Well, this is the post that goes below the JBL Eon, and as you can see, it is solid plastic. This is kind of stupid in my opinion. Not that they made this plastic, because this is what's stupid, because you can see here, I have the connections, I think it's on the back, this side, I have the connections that pass through, and what this does is this passes the signal through the tube, and it puts the signal up to here, to the speaker. Well, on this, as you can see, it's got it on the bottom and on the top. As does the Bose system. It has it on the bottom of the top. And you can buy the plastic pieces for the Bose and just run one of these, or you can buy multiple of these and just keep stacking them. But JBL, in all their brilliance, here's where it plugs in. The top is solid. So I can't run multiple of these. That's kind of idiotic to me. Now, I don't know if they did it that way because they would have to increase the power of the amp. I wouldn't think so, being as small speakers as they are, because these aren't going to it doesn't require a whole lot of power to push a 2-inch speaker. I don't know what the reasoning is behind that, and from what I can find, it's not even an option. So all I can do is run this one. Now, this one still sounds very good, don't get me wrong, but I think that's why the the Bose, the L1 Model 2 I was listening to, I think that's why it just seemed to have a little more airiness and glassiness on top, because the one I was doing had 3 of those stacked on top of each other. So I'm getting hit with a lot of volume from one direction. So it could have just simply have been that, and not that it actually had more highs on the top. But even when I got the Eon, now I bought the Eon because, like I said, everything stacks in the back, and you just have the one case you got to carry. I like that. It is easy because I got too much gear to carry right now as it is. But even with that, I'm still missing that airiness, that glassiness on top, that when you're singing. And that is incredibly important for a vocalist. We do a cover of Purple Rain, and when I sing that cover of Purple Rain, I sing it I sing it very breathy, because let's face it, come on, you can make that song sexier than shit if done correctly. And so I sing it very breathy when I do it because it's fun and the crowd likes it and the crowd has fun with it. So I do it for that reason, because it is fun and I enjoy doing it that way. But I'm missing that airiness again. So here I am again back on my board having to push those highs back into the stratosphere to get that breathiness and that glassiness on top that you get with a compression horn. So why didn't I just buy the QSCs? I love the QSCs. Hell, I got the board to match the QSCs. Why didn't I just buy the QSCs? Because they're big and they're heavy again. Now I'm having to carry 2 subs and 2 tops with the 12-inch and the compression horn. To where with the JBL, I stack that shit into the actual bass that has the sub built in, and it has built-in handles. I just pick it up and walk, and I can carry both of them at the same time. And minus the monitors, that's the full PA system for playing small clubs. Now, on the other hand, how does it work with a full band? That is the caveat right there. When we're playing small clubs, my drummer uses digital drums. I dig that because digital drums means no stage volume. because we can run everybody through the board. And since I got a Kemper, I can run direct. Now, I still have to have one of my FRs with me on stage, because if you're a guitar player, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You've got to have that on-stage speaker, that feeling that you feel out of that speaker, which I get out of my FRs when it's sitting right behind me. I can feel it hitting me. And when you're running with no, per se, guitar speaker, even if you got monitors, and you're running straight to the PA, there's just something missing. There is just simply something missing. You've got to have that stage volume as a guitarist. So I always take my FR with me. I take one with me to put on stage. But our stage volume is minimal because we got everybody running through the PA. But it actually sounds really good for the digital drums, because those little subs actually give us that kick that we need on the bottom end. And with all those high mid drivers, those 2-inch drivers, the snare still pops, the cymbals ring out pretty good, because cymbals don't really need that airiness. They're cymbals. They tear your ears apart anyway. If you've ever stood in front of a live drummer beating the hell out of drums, you know what I'm talking about. If you didn't have earplugs in, it just peels your face off. It's so loud. So it sounds really good. I've got it dialed in pretty good for the vocals also. I can get the breathiness 90% of what a good compression horn will do. If we're playing small clubs, that is enough. I still like compression horns better. Nothing's going to replace that to give you that glassy sound as a compression horn. It works good with the bass because, you know, I've got the built-in subs, and that's where the bass is hanging out anyway, on the damn bottom. And you know what? Let's be honest. If you got a bass player in your band, he's too damn loud anyway, so it doesn't matter. My bass player's going to see this and get pissed. But let's face it, bass players are always too damn loud. They're always too damn loud. But where I struggle is with on the guitars. That's where I have the problem. On the clean channels, it is absolutely fantastic. It is brilliant. But there's something about that 12-inch cone and that heavily distorted guitar that just works. Guitars love 12-inch speakers. 10-inch speakers work too. Guitars love 12-inch speakers. That's why almost everybody in the world makes cabs with 12-inch freaking speakers, because guitars love those speakers. They react very well to those speakers, that speaker size. And that's where I struggle. It's a nice system and it sounds good, but I've got to do some massive EQing to try to capture as much of my tone as I can out of these little line array systems that is so incredibly popular. Like I said, for acoustics and clean channels, they're brilliant. And actually, it sounds really good on the piano. Even on my piano, I still feel I'm missing some of that glassiness that I get out of a compression horn with the high mids, the line arrays. Most people probably are not going to notice that. I only notice it because I play piano. And when you sit in front of when you're playing a 5/4 or a 6-foot or a 9-foot concert grand piano, you hear all those overtones. And Yamaha actually did a very good job on my piano creating those overtones, because it is sampled from a 9-foot Yamaha concert grand, and it is weighted. And I know what those overtones sound like. I'm missing some of those coming through this system, and I think I'm missing them because I do not have those compression horns on there. And I'm losing that glassiness, some of that high-pitched ring that a piano will make, and I love that. That's what gives a piano a lot of character. Granted, the piano is digital, but still, it is sampled from a 9-foot concert grand. So, you've got to do a tremendous amount of EQing to get the guitar sound coming out of your cab or your FR to match in that line array system. Without that 12-inch speaker, it's just missing that sweet spot that a heavily distorted guitar produces. So that is my big beef about them. Are they really any good? Yes, they are good. If you plan on gigging with them, and most people won't. I went that route because I'm just tired of carrying gear. I've been carrying around gear for too damn long. I wanted something simple. And if push comes to shove, I mean, let's face it. I'll take my FRs, put those bitches on the side, crank those dudes up, and I'll just bypass the PA altogether, and I'll just push my sound from the stage, and it will sound phenomenal that way. But to keep everybody happy in the band, you want to push through front of house. And that way you can control everything together. You can use the master and push everybody up, pull everybody down. Instead of, when you're running your guitar separate in a small club, you push everything up. Now you got to try to match it, which hopefully means you can get your ass out there in the crowd and see if you can get a mix. Just easier to run through everything front of house. But it is kind of a struggle to get that tone because guitars love that 12-inch speaker. And there's always going to be something missing there. Because as guitar players, as you know, we work diligently. Well, hopefully you work diligently to get your tone. I pray to God you're not a guitar player that just buys a guitar, plugs it into a damn mess of boogie, and there you are. That is not your tone. That's a tone being produced from that guitar to that amp. That is not your tone. I have my tone, a tone that I like. And I've always, through all my years, even though I've gone through different kind of tones, they've always been similar, although earlier they were much heavier. Now they're not as heavy, maybe a little more MIDI now, but the tone is still very similar in its overall, in the way I perceive it. It's still a very similar tone. And so if you're a guitar player, just keep working, get your own tone going on. But it's just missing something there. So are they as good as the QSCs with the 12-inch? I'm going to say no, especially for guitars, because there's just something nice about having that 12-inch speaker replicating the sound you got coming out of a 12-inch speaker. In my case, it is a Kemper, but what I'm using is actually the tone was profiled off of a EVH 5153 cab, a 4x12. And so, if you're familiar with the Kempers, when you profile something like that, you don't want to go. You don't want to profile something with an amazing set of hot ceramic pickups and then try to play it through a Strat with a single coil. It doesn't work that way. You want to keep, if you're looking for a Strat tone, you need to profile from a Strat type guitar to play with your Strat. If you want to go heavy, you need to profile from a good heavy pickup to play on a guitar. So it's just missing something that a standard PA system would have with that 12-inch speaker. I can hear it in my guitars. It's just not there. Now, does it work for playing small clubs? Yeah. But like I said, as a guitar player, if you're a guitar player who's worked on your tone as much as I have, that shit is very important to us. And at my bass players, where we practice at, the drummer has our practice PA over there, and it's a decent PA. I'm not going to knock it for what it is. It's decent, but it kills my guitar tone, so I won't plug into it. I use my FRFRs because the difference is night and day. That's important to us. So I struggle with that on these line array systems. It's very hard to replicate your guitar tone that you've spent a ton of time focusing on without having those 12-inch speakers. So are they any good? Yes, they're good. Do they have limitations? Absolutely, they have limitations. Without that compression horn, you're missing the glassiness on top for the vocals. That breathiness, the airiness is what I should say, which is critical to your singer. That is critical. But without having those 12-inch speakers, you're missing, there's just elements of your guitar tone that is just not going to translate well to the audience front of house. Would I buy one again? No. This is probably be the last line array system that I buy. If we get to a point where we start playing a lot of venues that don't have PA systems and I have to get another one, I'm definitely just going to go ahead and buy the QSC at that point. With the 12-inch and the compression horn. That is a true and tried design. It has worked forever. It still works now. I know this line array thing is all the rage. And trust me, these aren't the line arrays that Bon Jovi's using. Their line arrays, whole different world. Their line arrays are $10,000 per speaker. So two different worlds. So you can't say what I'm saying about line arrays here and compare it to professional line arrays that Metallica uses and Bon Jovi and all those guys. Two totally different worlds. Would I buy it again? Probably not. These are nice now because they're light, they're little, they're easy to get to the small venues. We can jump in there, click, 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 plug, plug, plug. And the last thing about my board is I can save scenes on my board. So every time we play with them, once I get it EQ'd, I can save that scene. So if we go back there 4 years later and play that same venue, I can pull that scene back up. And it'll get it 95%, because granted, more or less people, things are going to change. But it's going to get it good enough to where I really don't have to dick with it a whole lot. But would I buy one again, be it the Bose or the Turbo Sound or the JBL? No, I would not. I think this will be my last foray into the line array setup. Without that 12-inch speaker and that compression horn, it's just missing a couple of key elements that I think are critical to a good PA system. So if you've played on the line arrays and you have a different opinion than me, let me know, because maybe it's just my ears, but it's just what I hear. And I think I'm pretty good at this shit. I've been doing this a long time. I think I'm pretty good at it. And I'm pretty damn good at mixing, especially live sound. So if you have a different opinion, agree or disagree, let me know. If you have any comments, put it down in the comments section. If you have any questions, put it down in the comments section. And Jesus, if you know anything about McDonald's Coke, for the love of God, drop me a line, because this is driving me crazy. What the hell is going on with McDonald's Coke? Again, please subscribe to the channel. One more time, if you have any comments, put it in the comments section. If you have any questions, put it in the comments section. Please subscribe, and until the next time, I don't have my guitar again. So I'm not even gonna, you know what? I need to change my closing line. Until next time, whatever you're playing or doing, do it to your best, do it to the fullest, and rock on.